After visiting the Elvis Jet, I wanted some more automotive stimulation. I was considering going to the Sarasota Classic Car Museum, but found it had closed. I then started a search for another option, and found the Tampa Bay Automotive Museum was only about 30 minutes away. After arriving at the unassuming location, I was about to be amazed by this unique collection. Be sure to look for the descriptions with the gold stars, as those signify that this is the only known example that exists. Enjoy!
Peugeot. Another French one. That is pretty hot.
This is the first car in the owner's collection. He bought it in 1957
Oh wow.
in Paris at the Police Pound auction.
Okay.
And it was not in very good shape. It's been completely restored. And this is the car that the founder of the museum took his wife on their first date in. So it's got a lot of sentimental value to it. And it has a lot of unique features. This windshield retracts down into the body for racing.
Oh wow.
And if you notice, it has no windshield wipers.
Yes.
So if it was raining hard enough for you to have the wipers on, you're going to have the top up. So if you pull the seat forward and bring the top up from behind the seat, the wipers come up with the top.
Oh, they're attached to the. Oh,
Yeah.
and then I guess it's got a handle that you go back and forth or something.
This little knob here, that's the shifter. It shifts electrically.
Okay.
And once you get going, you don't have to use the clutch. The only time you need to use the clutch is when you want to use reverse or when you come to a stop. The rest of the time, you just flip the switch to whatever gear you want to be in. It has 2 fuel fillers, but only 1 tank. And that way, when you were racing, your pit crew was always on the side of the car where they could refuel it.
Sure.
They didn't have to run around it. Or, if you're taking your wife out on a date, you can go into either side of the gas station.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Sure. They only made 103 of those.
130. It's beautiful. Only the French will put a heart on the back of it. This is a Tatra, that engine. That is a half track. It's pretty neat. What's this? I guess that's what it runs off of. It is a could not reproduction. But still, you see this thing. Get on this side. It is massive. He's sort of alive. He's been in the sauce a little bit too much. That is new meaning to drinking and driving. These wheels are almost at eye level. Very cool. original bins. This is a three-wheeler collection. That one. That was neat. But they don't hold a candle to this thing. The Mathis prototype. It is a bubble. Look at this thing. It's like half of it's missing. Leave it up to the French. Look at that. There's the wheel back there. This thing. I'm kind of in love with this interior. I mean, this thing is so bizarre. There's the engine. Picture the engine. And the guy up front said, if they have a gold star, this is the only one in existence. I believe it. I've never seen this thing before. But it just kind of makes my head hurt a little bit. There's a baby crying about the Kubel wagon. It's not very interesting in the grand scheme of things because the Hanomag Brat, aka the loaf of military bread, is far more interesting. That is just kind of silly. And then this thing is a French contraption that is kind of a car bicycle front wheel drive, clearly. Labels shifter. I mean, it's like dainty. And look at the little throttle. Yeah, this looks like you could die on that real easy, especially if they put some nitrous on it. This is pretty interesting. The shifter and the linkage runs behind everything through that tube. There's a tube that runs behind the intake all the way up to the dash. So right there. And then the front axle is amazing. Yes, that sucker's electrical. It does not have 1.21 gigawatts though. It is huge. The interior is amazing. I guess that's the steering and the shifter. Doors. You get a little passenger seat. And crystal vases with flowers, I guess, to make it smell nice. It's pretty amazing. I wonder if this is the jump starter. Pretty cool. It's a two-stroke. Just a cool looking engine. The car is huge. Is that some kind of ignition? That is. Another gold star. It's a all-wheel drive Mustang. That's kind of what's going on. The front axle goes through the oil pan. And then what's kind of amazing is the unit fits. The unit still fits in the floor pan. It's all mostly stock there. It's just a basic blue Mustang otherwise. Some kind of special badge. It's pretty neat. It's a runny bunny.
You're not allowed to go more than 88.5. And when you get out, watch your. In a very short, designed and built in a very short time, hoping to be able to save the company. But they were just a little bit too late. I still think it's one of the best looking cars.
I love the back.
The Avanti is just such a good looking car. It's a very, this is one of the few cars that I've driven in here. And,
Like the way it drives?
well, I like the way it accelerates, all right? It's a true muscle car in that it takes a lot of muscle to drive it. It's hard to steer, it's hard to shift.
Okay,
The
yeah.
clutch is very stiff,
Yep.
so it's a true muscle car. But that's the supercharged version, and it's a strong car.
Interesting.
Two of these. Coupe. Crazy ass engine. And that's the suspension behind the engine. Crazy French cars. Got another gold star. Look at that. Back window. shifter. That is an air-cooled Hemi V8. That's in that Tatra. It's very impressive.
Well, it happened early. They were going to do it in July of 1939, but in April of 1939, he did not want the soldiers to have to drive on the wrong side of the road. So he said, you're switching right out of it. So he forced the change immediately. And it turns out that these Tatra cars were much nicer than the staff cars that the
This-
officers were used to driving. So a lot of them commandeered Tatras. They'd steal your car and drive it themselves. But because the engine is in the back, they handle totally different than what you're used to with an engine in the front. So a lot of them were involved in accidents and Hitler finally forbade his officers from driving the Tatras. And the Czechs had a joke that said that Tatra cars killed more German officers than the Czech army did.
Wow. Wow. That's so crazy.
Yeah, there's lots of history and stories in this place.
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure, you could go all day.
That's so funny.
Did you notice this model? After World War I and World War II in Europe, gasoline was extremely scarce. And so thousands of cars, trucks, and buses were converted to run on charcoal or wood or coal or even nutshells. So this is a Model A Ford. It was built in a Ford plant in Spain, and then this whole apparatus was added to it. It's an aftermarket device. It wasn't sold by Ford. But you fill this up with charcoal, you light it. The charcoal burns, but you notice there's no vents in it like your backyard grill. So the charcoal can't completely combust. But the charcoal in the bottom eventually heats the charcoal above it and causes it to give off primarily carbon monoxide and methane. Well, methane's a combustible gas. So there is a cooler down here, and this is a filter, and this is a blower motor that draws the methane from the charcoal tank through this filter and then blows it up to the engine. And when you get up here to the front, there are two carburetors. The other one that's insulated with the asbestos is for the methane. The bottom one is a gasoline carburetor. So you fill that up, light it, and after about 15 minutes, you drive off using gasoline. And then after about 15 minutes, you could, without having to stop the car or get out, turn off the gasoline and switch on the methane and keep going on the charcoal.
That's crazy.
You lost about 30% of your power, but it beat walking.
This is freaking amazing. Upholstery. Oh, wow. That has to be seen to be believed. pretty interesting. No B-pillar, so it doesn't really align very well. It's hard to believe how small this car is. I mean, this is like to my waist. So small. It's a rotary, and that's not it. Leave it to the French to cram the spare tire on top of the engine.
The chambers are isolated by numerous rotor seals, the most critical of which are apex seals.
Desert. And their company didn't want them to be stranded in the middle of the Sahara if they had an engine failure, because you're too far away. AAA isn't going to come and get you. So the second engine is a backup engine. It drives only the back wheels. The front engine drives the front wheels. And if you get stuck in the sand, you could run both engines and you had four-wheel drive.
Oh my god. That is so cool.
Look at the seats.
So it's like a back
I don't think you could pick a better Corvair color to go next to that car. And that was probably by design. It was like monsooning outside. It's a beautiful Corvair though. There's a Walker? I don't know. It's got a gold star, so it's the only one left. Kind of a typical French sedan. Still cool. And the bumpers. Another gold star. This thing. I guess it had headlights or something. This thing. Oh my god, look at the steering wheel. That's a new level of bus type driving. Oh. I guess it has a spare tire under the seat. Why you would need it, I don't know. Does it have four wheels? I think it actually has four wheels. Oh, let's go four wheels. Nice. A luggage rack. That's bizarre. one of 3 remaining, so I guess it only gets a bronze star if I got a star. That windshield. Door handles. The interior. Look at that pattern on the. Get that? I don't know if it's getting that. It's got like welting over all the seams. And curtains. Curtains everywhere. You know, when it's time to get ill. What's interesting about all of these cars, they are all front-wheel drive. All front-wheel drive. So this is a night sleeve engine cutaway. It has no valves. Check this out. Piston goes up. And this machine sleeve is what opens. See, here's your intake. Piston comes up. And then we start opening for exhaust. I guess like you gotta look for the exhaust. That's pretty interesting. And this is, I believe, a full of what I was just spinning. Got the sleeve engine. Oh my god, look at the interior on this thing. I think the window's open on the other side.
You should have Houston, you should want to connect with the, if you don't see
That is.
I think that showed most of the cars on display, and this Deutsche Banner was my favorite. It's a tough choice. It's now time to boogie back to the bench and figure out what's the next steps on the Porsche and GTO builds. As always, like, comment, subscribe, you know what to do, because I have all kinds of model car stories to tell. Thanks for watching.